7 notorious bandits boarded the Union Pacific in an escape from a massive heist. But thanks to some quick thinking from the train driver and paranoia amongst the group, there's now only 2 left. Tuco, who is guarding the last train car with his life, and Ghost, who is at danger of falling off with the next train car and being caught by the authorities, but he does get the ability to take the first action. Will Ghost be able to maneuver his way out of the final train car and make his way to safety at the front of the train? Or will Tuco be able to hold him back, or even better, shoot him off the back of the Union Pacific? If this sounds even remotely exciting to you, welcome to Colt Super Express. This is a 3 to 7 player action programming game, and it is very filler, but I use filler as a term of endearment in this case because this might be one of my favorite filler games. I haven't played that many, but this is certainly one of my favorites of them because this game only generally lasts 15 minutes, but it's still got a lot of strategy combined with a lot of chaos that helps it to remain relatively tasteful and full of variety in order to keep it coming back to the table, because I seem to bring this out every other bloody week at my board game groups. So yeah, it's doing really well for itself, and I actually really like it as a result of the fact that it's got a fair amount of strategy but also a ton of chaos, and let me explain to you why. So at the beginning of the game, under normal circumstances, you have 4 actions, and here they are. They're all relatively simple to understand, and while there are a fair few rules governing this, there is some logic to it which helps keep it relatively easy to digest. So these are what the action cards do. I'll just swap these around so we can go from left to right. We've got move forward. Done. We've got climb down or climb up. So if you're on the top of the train, you move inside the train, or vice versa. Turn around, because facing is important. You don't want to have your back turned to someone who's got a gun trained on you. And then you've got shoot. And if you shoot, and there is a bandit in front of you, they get knocked back to the next car, and they fall over. Notably, you can't defeat a bandit in this way, but this plays by Super Smash Bros. Rules, where you have to knock them off the stage in order to get them killed. So, using these 4 actions, you take 3 of them, and you place them down in the order you want to execute them. Like we have for Ghost here, who already has his actions for this turn planned out. So you put them down, let's just say those 3, and then during your turn, you flip them over, and you perform the action listed on them. You start from 1 and you go clockwise or counterclockwise, whichever way you so desire. And once you've done that, for all the players and all the actions, the final car comes off, and anyone on it is doomed. Done. You can, of course, also head up to the front of the train and shoot people off. And the person who is closest to the front of the train, when this car has been taken off, gets this card, and they take it for themselves. So let's just say good old Tuco gets that one. And this is how you determine tie breaks. If there's only one person, if there's not one person left on the train, and then if people have an equal amount, there's a monetary amount here that you can use to settle up tie breaks that way. It really is that simple. And as a result, you might think the game's not particularly interesting with 2 players, but here's the thing. Look at all the cowboys here. You can play this game with up to 7 people. And just to give you an idea, like this will be enough room for a 5-player game, right? Just to give you an idea of how crazy this crap can get. Like, all of these people all taking actions on their turn means that there is going to be some absolute chaos at the beginning of the game. As people are like, I'm going to move down here in order to get out of the way of any bullets. I'm going to move forward so that I'm here and ready to strike when it comes to my turn. I'm going to shoot and hit poor old Ghost right in the face and knock him down. Ghost needs to spend a turn getting back up, after which he gets shot in the back by Bell, who then knocks him flat on his ass again. And this isn't even close to how chaotic it can get, but we'll get to that. So, you have 7 different cowboys here, or cowgirls, I suppose, if you prefer, although that seems a bit silly. And their abilities are all identical, so you don't have to worry too much about anything along those lines. They all play the same, they just have different coloured meeples and different art on the cards. And all the art in this game is actually quite good. it really does give you a good sense of like who all these cowboys are and what they're like. And the cards are made of decent material, so you don't have to worry about doing things like sleeving them, because it just doesn't seem particularly necessary. With that said, the game is decent like this, but if you would take my advice, I would tell you to add the 2 expansions straight out of the box. The game does warn you that you might want to be sure of what the basic rules are first, but I don't recommend you do that. I just recommend you hop straight in, because these 2 cards add some absolutely fantastic strategy to the game. So, the 4 that we talked about earlier, climb, turn around, move, and shoot, they're all pretty simple cards that don't give one player any massive advantage, but when you combine them with these 2, suddenly things get really interesting, because the horse card lets a player move straight to the front of the caboose. So, not the caboose, the locomotive, which is the front of the train. And so they are safe from the back falling off here. However, as you can see, it also leaves them facing forward, so they're in danger of someone trying to take a shot at them. However, let's say Ghost was to take a shot from here, fall off the back, and then their next card turned out to be the horse. That would allow them to survive the fall, when nothing would usually be able to. So it's got 2 uses. And it's the same thing with the reflex shot. So if you are on your back and you use the reflex shot, you can get up and take a shot immediately. It's the 1 card in the game that can do this, but it's also got a secondary use where if you play it out and you are standing up, you get knocked on your back. So both of these cards have unique uses. However, using them at the wrong time can leave you in a lot of danger. And that's what rounds it out. That's what rounds out the strategy and what makes this game great, because it gives you an absolute ton of options. Like, for example, when you've only got the base 4, you don't have the ability to, like, to predict your death and then save yourself, or to find out that you're going to get shot and then take the opportunity to reflex shot and shoot someone. Or even better, know you stand the chance of taking a bullet to the back and just knocking yourself over and letting the enemy shots fly over the top of you, because you can't be shot while you're on your back. It's an absolutely brilliant double set of cards that increases the strategic depth of the game immensely and makes it a hell of a lot of fun, because there are so many situations that can come out of this. Like, for example, imagine that you're being face down on both sides and you think to yourself, well, crap, this isn't going to end well. Wait, I'm going to reflex turn 1. He's going to shoot over the top and hit May. Then I'm going to get back up. He's going to move over towards me. He's going to get back up. And then I'm going to shoot him. And since he's already used his shot, all he can do is, like, get away or do something like that. But the kicker comes in the fact that you have to remember that you've got to program out all 3 of your movements in advance, because everyone gets 3 actions to play, and then they go. So can you predict whether or not someone is going to try and horse to the front? Because if you do, you can be there and ready to shoot them off, be ready to shoot them off the front of the train. Or are you going to predict that someone is going to willingly take a shot and then reflex and kill you? You might be able to do the same thing by just hitting the deck, and then they take their turn. They expect to be fallen over and shot, so they use reflex and they just knock themselves over in the process. It leaves an absolute ton of room for strategy and silly events and what have you. And even then, some of the best movements in this game are absolutely unintended. To give you the grand story of Doc being played by a friend of mine, who I won't name, he was on the roof of the caboose. He thought he was going to get shot, so the first card he decided to play was move forward. But he didn't get shot, and so when he moved forward, he decided to give up on life and fall off the front of the damn train. Stupidest bloody move I've ever seen. It's also just the best example of how this game can just get under your skin, because you can spend so long thinking about what everyone's moves are going to be and what they're going to do, and you never know exactly what they're going to do. And that's what makes both the absolute chaos of 7 cowboys all on the same train, ready to fire shots at each other, or these head-to-head duels where everything is riding on the line so great. Because there are so many options here once you've added these 2 cards. So for example, he could willingly knock himself over, let the shot pass over his head, then get up and move forward. Or he could use the horse and get himself to the front of the train and then turn around and fire a shot backwards. Or, well, God knows what else he could do. He could turn around, because let's just say, for example, so we know Ghost is going first, right? So Tuco knows for a fact that Ghost is probably going to do something to get out of the way of the shot. So Ghost could probably do something really garish and just move forward. And then when Tuco does something like, I'm going to move to the bottom of the train in order to try and catch him off guard, it's not going to work because he has to plan out all 3 of his moves in advance. And as a result, the duels in question can be really engaging with this back and forth of what's he going to do, what should I do to counter it, how do I not die? And then in 15 minutes, all the train cards are gone, somebody's won, and then you set up the train and go again. Because even with a little bit of analysis paralysis, there's only so much planning you can do. And so as a result, just putting down anything sometimes just works the best. Acting completely out of character, maybe even for complete disregard for your own safety, might be the best thing to do. And even then, that's a hell of a cowboy thing to do. So that said, let's play out a round. We've already got Ghost with his 3 actions down, face down, and I don't even bloody remember what I put there, so this is going to be fun. So what do we think he's going to do? He might want to make a run for it, so I have no problem with firing off a shot straight away. Then, I'm thinking maybe we'll horse to the front of the train, and then we'll turn around. Because it would give us an advantage in the next round, right? Because since we're going to get the first player card as Tuco, that would mean that we would get the first advantage on him. So if he ends up on the bottom set of trains, that would actually work out really well for us. So Ghost, card 1, he's moving down. Card 1 takes the shot, misses. Card 2 for Ghost, he moves forward. Tuco, he horses, so he moves to the front of the train, facing backwards. Ghost, card 3. Oh no! Poor Tuco getting shot in the back and off the front of the train, and he just used his horse. So that unfortunately means that Ghost has successfully outwitted Tuco and takes the rest of the train for himself. It is such a clever little system. It does a really good job in adding a lot of strategy while also mixing in a lot of chaos in order to make it fun on repeat plays. And the addition, and not so much the addition, because the 2 cards I'm talking about here, they call them expansions, but they do technically come with the base game. But these 4 cards here being standard but otherwise safe actions versus these 2, which have variable uses but potentially disastrous costs, balance out the strategy in a really great way that makes it really enjoyable to think about what they're going to do and what you're going to do. And again, it's all over in about 15 minutes. Really damn good. It's also in this tiny ass box, and it's really cheap. Something like, I paid like $25 for this from a local game store, and that's 25 Australian, so that goes to under like $20 US. And considering the amount of plays that I've gotten out of it, yeah, totally worth it. Wholeheartedly recommended. Absolute ton of fun to play, especially if you can get 7 cowboys all taking shots at each other, all maneuvering out of the way, and all trying to outsmart the rest of their opponents. Really good stuff. This has been Blue Maxima. I'll see you all next time.